What if happiness isn't something that happens to you, but something you actually have to choose? And more importantly, what does it look like to build a life around that choice every single day? Welcome to Get Messy, the mindset space for creatives who are building sustainable and successful careers without losing their sanity. I'm Maddie, a professional performer of over a decade, currently in grad school to become a therapist, and I'm the friend who will dive deep and never BS you about what it takes to actually stay in the game. Today, I'm sitting down with Stella Stephanopoulos, innovation consultant at Accenture, Equinox yoga instructor, and founder of the Everyday Endorphins happiness podcast and wellness community. What started as an Instagram account in 2015 has grown into nearly 180 episodes and a real thriving community built around one core belief that happiness is something you can actually cultivate. Stella calls this chapter of her life a discovery season, less urgency, more presence, and a focus on how life feels rather than how it looks from the outside. And the way she talks about this current season of her life just makes you want to take a really nice, big, juicy exhale. In this episode, we get into the loneliness epidemic and why real world connection is getting harder to build, the fear of rejection that keeps us from reaching out, and how nervous system regulation is actually the foundation of resilience. We also talk about reframing limiting beliefs, signing your own permission slip, and what it means to advocate for your own needs without waiting for someone else to do it first. Stella is one of those people who makes you feel both seen and challenged at the same time, and this episode is packed with just so much mindset gold. Without further ado, please welcome the inspiring Stella Stephanopoulos. Stella, I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm so excited for this conversation to give people a little bit of a glimpse into who you are and what you have going on. You're an innovation consultant at Accenture. You're a yoga instructor at Equinox, and you're the founder of Everyday Endorphins, which is a happiness podcast and a wellness community focused on exploring what brings us joy in life. If you were a book, what would you title this chapter that you're currently in?
Oh my God. I think this chapter is discovery. That's the first thing that came to mind. Discovery, in that I feel oddly younger at 26 than I felt at 22. And I feel like I am discovering a new phase of adulthood now. Like, I'm realizing I actually have so much time ahead of me in life. And so I feel like I am coming into this whole chapter in life with this energy of there's a lot of time that's ahead of me and that I can take my time with things in life. It's discovering newness in a way that I didn't feel when I was 22. I felt like I had to rush through everything and to like grow up super fast.
This is like blowing my mind, Stella, because I come from a background in the entertainment industry, and this mindset coach that I've worked with, I asked her recently, like, what's a common thread of all of the clients that come to see you, no matter what age they are, and they're primarily women, and it's that they're running out of time, that they feel like they don't have enough time to do all of the things that they want to do. And what's funny, I just turned 33. So I feel similarly to you. It's like this weird thing where all of the markers that I felt like you have to have kids by a certain age, or you have to make this much money by this age, like all of that kind of dissipated, and it feels more expansive, and like there's so many more possibilities in the time and space that I'm in. And it doesn't feel like my husband's about to turn 40. And even that, I'm like, oh wow, like there's so much time still, because some people are like, oh, it's like your half life. And it's like, what? I love that take. And I feel very similarly. And I think we're kind of surrounded by a lot of messaging that tries to tell us that's not the case. Like there should be this urgency.
Yes. And I think also for me, that feeling is accelerated because I grew up in New York City and I've really only ever lived here except for college. And this is not how the rest of the world operates, is what I've come to realize. Like people move in New York with a sense of urgency. And I appreciate that it's kind of in my wiring and that I've always had a bias for action. Like I need to take the initiative. I have to get things done. But it's been even harder for me to understand what patience actually means and looks like as practice. And I'm really trying to lean into patience these days. I've been thinking a lot about how in the context of time and giving yourself time, we tend to rush through things because we want to just like check things off the to-do list, or at least I'll speak for myself. Like that is very much a quality of my character, my personality. But I found myself attaching onto labels. Like if I can just get that label, then I have a sense of certainty and comfort. But what I've come to realize is that achieving a label or any sort of achievement doesn't guarantee comfort and certainty. So why put so much weight and pressure on how things necessarily look. Like, I'm really working on how do things feel for me. And that often requires you to not pay attention to the things around you and the labels and the judgments and the noise. And it requires you to like really return within. And I'm really feeling that deeply. So that's why I think I'm in this like discovery chapter in life.
I love all of this. And what I think is so cool, because in my mind, when I look at the different things that you do, it almost feels like two different worlds. Like you're actively building a happiness and wellness community, and you're also working as an innovation consultant at Accenture. How do you hold both of these? I'll call them identities, because I know what you mean by labels, and I feel like it's a little bit different, like a label versus a full identity. How do you hold both of these identities as a corporate strategist and a wellness community builder? Like, where do they intersect? Where's their tension?
I've tried to find ways of cross-pollinating the two in my career. And at a very specific level, you know, I am super vocal that I have a podcast at my day job, and it's caught the eye of some really amazing leaders at my firm. And they've encouraged me to host internal podcasts and wellness initiatives. Like, I found ways to build community and give back to my practice like that. And vice versa. I've met amazing people at my job that are also very entrepreneurially spirited and support my side hustles and my passions. And I've also gained amazing friendships. Like, for example, I was just taking a trip to Chicago, and my old manager offered to host me for a few nights while I was in town. And we're very similar in age, and we've worked together on projects, but like, I consider her now a friend. I think it's so important to have, you know, a best friend figure at work and to work with people that you really admire and that push you. And so I lean into that identity because as my career has progressed, I realized I actually like a lot of things about the corporate world. Like, I don't think that in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to hate corporate America, because being an entrepreneur is not as glamorous as it looks. It's not. But then I hold space for that identity by recognizing that, like, being a wellness community builder, it's not a separate identity. Like, that is just who Stella is at the end of the day. And it is expressed through a podcast. It's expressed through hosting events. It's expressed through how I post on social media, but that's always who I'm going to be, regardless if the podcast dissolves or not. And so the way I hold space for that is the act of service and of doing things for others and of hosting these interviews. 5+ years later, it's become the blueprint for how I want to live my life and the perspectives that I want to hold and the wisdom that I've been gaining. And that no one can ever take away. So I'm grateful to be building in this way. And the way I hold space for this is because it's just who I am. And my day job is part of who I am also. It's how I, you know, am building a career for myself. It's how I support myself financially. I'm so grateful and fortunate for these opportunities. I always knew coming into the corporate world, I never wanted to just be a consultant. And a lot of people are fine with that. I wasn't. I didn't want that to be my whole identity. So that's what also got me excited to build alongside working full time. And I started my podcast pre-starting my corporate job, and I was still a senior in college. So it was a hobby that became really just like a blueprint for how I want to live my life. That's the best way I can describe it, honestly.
It makes me think of the quote, Stella, like, wherever you go, there you are. Because it's kind of like you can't escape yourself. And I feel like sometimes we put a label or identity of like Stella who works in corporate, Stella who's creating a wellness community, when it's like, those are all pieces of like the pie of who you are. And like you said, who you are is going to follow you into every single room or opportunity that you fall into. And what's so cool about your podcast, because I went back and listened to the first teaser of it, which was back in October 2020. It was great. And it was cool. I love to see people evolve. Like, I do that sometimes about podcasts I like, where I'm like, let me go back. Most of them I haven't been from the exact beginning. So I'm like, let me go back and check it out from like where you started to where you are now, 5.5 years later. So back in October 2020, you said your podcast is about finding ways to spark happiness and well-being in your day-to-day life, help people maintain a positive outlook, spread awareness of mental health. And you actually started Everyday Endorphins initially in high school back in 2015 as an Instagram account. So now it's like you had the Instagram account, now you're a podcast with almost 180 episodes in. How has your platform grown during this period of time? And what's your current goal for like the next phase of growth?
It has honestly been a humbling experience to host a podcast because I don't have the courage to listen to episode 0. I probably wouldn't even be able to listen to my voice in 2020. And over time, I've just learned so much from people on how they've navigated hardship in life, how they've got to the success that they've built for themselves. Like all these experiences that people have been able to share with me that I hope to emulate one day. It's been like the biggest gift to have a platform. First and foremost, selfishly, I'm learning, and the cherry on top is that I get to spread this with other people. So I feel like the biggest insight that I've gained is kind of a cheat sheet for myself on how to become happier, without at the time realizing that I've always struggled with this pressure that I've put on myself to be happy all the time. And then over time, I realized, wait, that's never what it was about. No wonder you're having this struggle, because you're placing pressure. And the more you focus on quote unquote needing to be happy, the more you have it run away from you. And of course, that knowledge starts to crystallize as you get older, and it becomes enriched with life experience and wisdom. So it's like I'm learning these things, and then at the same time, in parallel, I'm experiencing these things, which then color what I've been learning all along. So it's been a really beautiful journey to witness, and it's brought me to amazing people, interviewing everyone from a visual artist and designer who's worked with Lil Yachty to someone who started who's part of the first all-Black rowing team in Chicago at this high school in Chicago. And he's done amazing things in the rowing community and creating more accessibility for that sport to underserved communities. And then also interviewing executives in the corporate world and the CEO of the Equinox hotel. That's just insane. And to get to have all of these 180 people have one thing in common, and it be that they've been on Everyday Endorphins, and to say that I created that as an opportunity, it's amazing. It really is amazing. And then to have people listen to that and to hope that they find something from those episodes that, resonates with them or improves their life. I wish I could see it directly, but the nature of a podcast that you don't get the immediate real-time reaction, but it's very gratifying. And the chapter that I'm in right now, as I think about building and expanding, is, and I hate this word, but it's really like authenticity. I started doing a lot of events in 2022 in New York, and it was kind of honestly predicting the trend of community and IRL before that, really became a thing now. And I want to bring that back in some way, continuing to leverage more grassroots on the grounds, IRL community moments, whether it be through an event or through doing street interviews. I've really shifted the way that I produce content on socials now to try to connect with people more deeply and bring them into who is Stella, not just what is this Everyday Endorphins thing, but who is the person that is shaping this brand. And I think that's also been a very eye-opening experience for me, because it requires you to be really honest with yourself about your why and why you're doing all these things, and also be comfortable kind of exposing yourself online. It takes a lot of courage to be public in that way. So I think that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And I from witnessing your content too, Stella, because I just obviously was looking back through kind of your last couple months of Instagram preparing for this, and you are really embodying that authentic, I'm sitting down right now, I'm going to share this thought or this hot take or this thing. And it feels like that very real, we're having an intimate conversation, even though it's you expressing it, but giving us a tangible thought to think about and be how do I feel about that? What's coming up for me when I'm exploring the question that you're posing or the thought that you're bringing to us? And I guess from doing all of the social content that you've been doing, because you're very consistent, I love that you give a hot take, because to me, I'm it makes me think. It makes me it sticks with me throughout the day to be that really struck something deeper inside of me of a question I need or want to ask myself. I guess in 180 episodes of your podcast, in hosting events, in putting yourself out there on social and kind of getting to see how people react and respond to all of the content you're creating, what do you think people are actually needing to hear when it comes to happiness, mental health, having a positive outlook?
I think it's knowing that they're not alone in feelings of loneliness. I think that's a really big one, because we are living in a loneliness epidemic right now. And I think it's a product of so many factors, be it COVID, technology. We're socially atrophied. People, I think, are craving spontaneity. And I'll speak from my experience, especially living in New York. You can't just walk into a restaurant and sit down. Everything is reservation and this and that. It's just infuriating.
My friend just moved there last July and was telling me about this. And I was I'm sorry. You can't just walk into a bar. So continue, because it blew my mind.
Yeah. It's really infuriating. I don't know if you've watched Love Story, the JFK Jr. show. Loved it. Oh my God. I was like, love this show. People, I think, are loving it, not just because of the story and the dramatized depiction of, everything, but like it's glamorizing New York in the 90s, pre our iPhones, pre being glued down. And I think we're craving people to just be spontaneous and to come up and to talk to you. And this actually connects to something else I was going to share, but around kind of how my content is pivoted and the phase I'm at right now. Been leaning into TikTok, and for whatever reason, the content that is performing well on my TikTok, it's about how men are not approaching women. Like that was kind of the thesis. And then more of my videos started to explore, well, why are people not approaching? Should women also approach it? Like, what's going on here? And for whatever reason, now my target audience on TikTok, it's the incel community, unfortunately. But maybe they need to hear this message more than the average person. So I'll take it. Like, I'll take every hate comment, whatever. I don't really care about that. But then it's like to take it a step further, because it's not just about the romantic thing about men should approach women and whatever. Taking it a step further, it's like it's very hard now for people to just talk to strangers in the way that you used to pre-phones. That was the only way people knew how to communicate. And I think that the fact that we have socially atrophied and we don't have the skill set to strike up a conversation and to be confident in doing so, it creates a loneliness because, people say, oh, but just go out more. You could go to the bars with your friends, but if you're with your friends, you're probably not going to talk to people, and other people probably won't come up to you. So you might be physically in spaces that it should in theory be conducive for you to meet people and build all types of connection. But now, even being in those spaces, no one's actually connecting. And it's overused on social media. Authenticity, connection, all these phrases are so overused and it drives me insane. But at the end of the day, like, I'm really passionate about this because connection is really the common denominator of joy in life. When you look at the research in positive psychology, the strength of our interpersonal relationships is what directly predicts our well-being and our happiness and our satisfaction in life. And the fact that we are now all of a sudden super unhappy and super lonely, it's like, obviously, because we've lost the ability to truly connect. And I think a lot of it comes from COVID and our phones, and it's horrible. And I have to check myself and not get glued to my devices. And I really have to put guardrails in place so that I force myself to be put in some, uncomfortable situations, like stepping out of my comfort zone and holding my own. But it's hard. And I just want people to know that, like, they're not alone in these experiences, because I most certainly feel it. And I talk about this with my friends, and my friends feel it. And there's pressure to put up this facade online that everything is great. But like, no one's life is ever going to look like that.
I feel this so hard, Stella. And what I love about this, so my husband and I, we've moved a lot since COVID. We both were living in LA. I was there for over a decade. He was there for over 5 years. So we had like a very strong community. And obviously LA is populated with a lot of people in the entertainment industry. So any coffee shop you walk into, you're meeting your people, so to speak, like everywhere you go. So there was no shortage of being able to feel so immersed in a community because you're in line and someone probably has something that they can relate to. Then we've moved to Virginia Beach, we moved to Miami, we're moving to Kansas City in a couple months. And I think from like being uprooted and replanted so many times in such a short amount of time after being in one space for so long, I love people. I love having friends. I love going out with my friends. And all of a sudden you're in cities where you don't know anybody. Like, you're truly starting from square one of trying to make friends. And it was shocking to me at how difficult it's been. And it wasn't even from me trying, it was from like constant rejection from other people, which, again, being in the entertainment industry, used to rejection, don't care. Like, I'll put myself out there. But I was astonished at how difficult it was to make connection. And like, I had to keep forcing myself, like in a Pilates class, like saying hi to the person next to me, even if I'm like, I feel uncomfortable and they probably do too, but like, no one's going to talk to me. Like, no one will talk to me. It's like so up to me to make this relationship happen. And even as we're going to Kansas City, I'm already prepping myself to be like trying to get over some of the uncomfortability I felt in Miami and in Virginia Beach faster, to be like, okay, what worked? What actually clicked? Start doing them like the second you get there, because I know how lonely it can be being in a new city. And I even agree with you too. Like, you can be lonely in a city where you have your friends and family also, because of the way that all of our lives are structured. And I think what's so interesting about you bringing this up is because it's not just even in our age group. It's transcending into every age group. My mother-in-law is about to turn 75, and she's so sweet and she's so nice, but she's more of an introvert. And I've seen from when she retired to now, I'm like, she literally goes back into work because those are her friends, because she doesn't have friends outside of work or outside of like the couple family members that she has. And she's craving socialization. I even like made this whole list of like events or activities or things that she can go to in the community that are free. And like, she wouldn't do it. And I get it, because I understand like it's hard at 33 to do shit that's uncomfortable, but I'm like trying to do so much of it now because I don't want to be 45, 55, 65, 75. And like, it just gets worse and worse, where I've kept up my little cage of comfort to where then I know that she wants it, but I almost feel like she's tried to convince herself, I'm okay. No, I like being at home. And then the second my husband and I see her, it's like, she is so excited to talk and communicate. Cause I'm like, yeah, you are missing so much of that connection in your everyday life. And it could go on for weeks like that sometimes.
Exactly. And I love the point that you made around it being an active effort. Like, you have to force yourself to do the uncomfortable thing. And in my content on TikTok, when it pertains to romantic relationships and exploring why are men not approaching women, it really comes down to, well, there's a lot of reasons that I've found, but like one of the biggest ones is fear of rejection, which I empathize. Like, I get it. I really understand it, because it's not gendered. Like, everyone fears rejection. No one wants to be rejected in life. But I love what you said around building that tolerance for it. Being in the entertainment industry, you've in a way had the privilege of normalizing rejection. And I think we all could benefit from that, myself included, for how to remain okay in the face of rejection and to not let the rejection stop you from continuing to put yourself out there, to say yes to an experience, to say yes to a trip, to try a new route to work, to talk to a stranger. Like, we shouldn't let rejections limit us from continuing to put ourselves out there. There's an amazing researcher that I love. His name's Arthur Brooks, and he's a professor also at Harvard. And he does this activity with his students where he makes them like write a failure journal and write down a list of failures and leave like a line blank underneath to return back to like 2 weeks after the failure, just like reflecting on it. And then a month later, I forget the exact prompt, but then a month later you come back and you write down like what's something you've learned from that. Like, how has your life improved by this failure? And the idea is to desensitize yourself to it, because then instead of fearing failure, it's something you start to look forward to, things not working out, because then you're like, okay, that's just a redirection. Like, it's not an attack on my character or my identity that something didn't go as I had hoped for it to. I have the resilience to pivot. And like, really, that is what happiness is about. It's about the tolerance for discomfort, to be able to sit in the negative emotions, to be able to understand that everything in life is fleeting, even the good stuff. So hold on to it while you have it. And building that like emotional resilience in that toolkit creates long-term joy in life. The ability to really create a life full of depth and meaning, I think, comes back to recognizing the impermanence of everything too.
Absolutely. And I think there's sometimes a lot of fear or denial. It almost seems morbid as opposed to so life-giving. Like, when you do recognize that like this moment is fleeting, we have no idea what's going to happen in the next 10 seconds. We think we do. We'll probably still be on this podcast, but like something else crazy could happen. Like, we truly don't know. I think of that as such a life-giving thing, but there's been a lot of people in talking about that it feels, yeah, morbid. I don't want to think about that. Well, it's happening. Like, the fact that you know is happening is honestly a gift, because you can use that information to help construct how you want to spend your time. You were making me think of Sahil Bloom, who's an author and writes a newsletter, because he talks about uncertainty all the time, about how the people who are the happiest and the most successful can withstand the most amount of uncertainty.
To be able to like operate in the ambiguity. And that's something I really struggled with when I was 22, which is why I think I felt so old, because I felt like time was running out. But now I'm realizing that like life is just a false sense of certainty. And, you know, someone asked me if I fear death. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I fear death. Yeah, like, it's scary. But now I've been thinking a lot about like, okay, God willing, I hope I'm on this earth for a long time. But when I think about the choices that I make in life and how I want to spend my time and how I want to show up and what I want to say to the people that I love, and like being honest and always operating from a place of truth and love, I've been thinking a lot about like, the only thing that matters is literally right now, because I could die tomorrow. And then what's the point of worrying about something that hasn't happened? Like, there is genuinely no point. If I knew tomorrow I was going to die, I would just be happy now. And like, that's the whole point of life, is to just choose happiness. It's to be happy now. Like, that's all you have. And I went to an amazing talk hosted by Sam Harris months ago. And he said something. He's very controversial, but he's a brilliant speaker and thinker, which I appreciate. And he said something at the end of his talk, and he was like, you just have to be happy now. This isn't a dress rehearsal. There's no performance that you're rehearsing for. Like, this is it. Be happy now. And it really, really resonated. I wrote a Substack about this, kind of comparing my own experience as a child performer. Like I acted as a kid and was on stage a lot, and we had tons of dress rehearsals, and the performance, you only have one shot and whatever. But like life every single day is the present. It's that performance. You're not living to anticipate for a final performance down the road. Like that's just not guaranteed. So how can you act as if every day it is the final day? And I'm not saying to be impulsive, because I have done that before and it never works out really. It's about presence. And I think that's another huge finding also from the show is presence is where happiness lies.
Absolutely. And even when you were talking about patience before, I kept thinking of the word presence, because to me, when you are more patient, I feel like you're able to be a little bit more intentional and more present with what's happening around you. On your Instagram recently, you were talking about happiness being a choice and how we don't experience the world, we experience our nervous system. And I vibed with that so hard. And I feel like it's very on trend with like what we're talking about. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by happiness being a choice and us experience our nervous system, not the world around us? And what was the catalyst for you realizing this and like cementing this thought or this notion?
I had seen a few posts about that phrase, like on TikTok, on Instagram, and I was like, this resonates. And the way I like to think about it is that everything in life is neutral. We just put labels on things, whether they're good or bad based off our judgment of that thing. Let's say you're on your way to work and you're making toast and you accidentally burn your toast. Is that a good or bad thing? I don't know. You can choose to get worked up over it because you're like pissed off that now you're going to be late and now your whole day is horrible just because you burnt your toast. Like, God forbid. Okay, make another slice of like you prescribe negative connotations and feelings to that event because it's not quote unquote going your way. And it's like our brains tend to really think in these absolutes. Whereas just recognizing that the burnt toast thing is just a neutral event and to not let that impact the rest of your day is what I think enables you to be in that mindset of choosing happiness. And that's like a very basic kind of like trivial example. But for anything in life, I think this really resonated for me in particular because I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself and I hold very high standards and like expectations for myself. And I always want to do the right thing. I want to do a good job. I want approval of other people. Like I've always been this way. And as I have now grown older and as I'm going to continue to grow older, I want to first have approval of myself, like not of others, and to give myself that permission to decide what is right for me and what is not right for me has become very important. And I think about this a lot now as I'm trying to become okay with navigating the ambiguity and operating amidst uncertainty. I'm trying to recognize that, you know, you and I could be looking at the same landscape and I could think it's horrible and you could think it's beautiful. Objectively, nothing has changed about that landscape. My perception and my experience of it has to do with what's going on within me. And that is your nervous system. Like your nervous system is what really dictates how you respond to things in life. And when you learn how to regulate the nervous system, you can show up with a response that comes from patience rather than from rushing, back to our earlier point in the conversation. This is also why I love to teach yoga and to practice yoga. And I try to meditate as often as I can because they're tools to help you quiet your nervous system, to help you be in control of your nervous system and to not let that take control over you. And again, it ties back to your earlier point, wherever you go, there you are. I wrote a Substack also about this, and I thought I was going to move to London as of like literally this month. I was going to be there. And what I realized was that I was escaping from discomfort here rather than chasing an whole opportunity there. And it was my nervous system that was not regulated. Like objectively, someone could look at my life and be like, she's got it all. She's got an amazing life. And you know, I'm grateful for the life that I've built for myself, but I was so lonely and so unhappy in a city that I grew up in, that I had friends in, that I had community in, that I had family in. And I felt so disconnected from the life I'd built for myself. And I realized nothing about the objective circumstances or my reality external to me was bad or wrong. It's actually great on paper, but I wasn't experiencing what I was seeing. I was experiencing what I was feeling, which is my nervous system, which was not regulated. And it took me some time to figure that out. And I think it's a daily practice of figuring that out because like an ebb and flow, and that's okay. So there's been, a few personal experiences that really kind of solidified that for me in the past 6 to 12 months, but it's a learning. It's just a constant learning. And so that video I made also as a reminder for me, because I think we could all benefit from hearing that once in a while.
I think just a reminder too, Stella, that the reminder that it takes time, like it takes time and consistency and practice of like you doing yoga, you meditating, like going to therapy, like whatever people do to like help themselves regulate their nervous system, painting, drawing, going on a walk or on a run, like all of those things. It takes making those behaviors like consistent, showing up for yourself. And like it takes time, like you said, 6 to 12 months to even start seeing some of the benefits of kind of engaging in that process over and over. And the reminder that every day it's different. I love that too, because I think sometimes when I've worked with a lot of younger actresses, thinking of the word confidence, it's almost like they initially view it as like a state that they will arrive in. Like once I achieve this, this, and this, I will feel confident. And it's like, no, it's like a fluid thing. It's like, because confidence equates to like self-trust, and like your self-trust will be different on different days due to so many different things. So a lot of them would be like, oh my God, I'm feeling so confident in like XYZ in my career. And then 3 weeks later would be like freaked out. Like I don't feel confident anymore. And it's like, right. Because it's not this state. It's like fluid and flexible, and exactly what your relationship with your nervous system and identifying what's going on so that you can make those adjustments. And I've been in and out of therapy for a long time, and my therapist calls it like the pause. Like, so you can find the pause before you react and you respond. So like, I think the toast is a great example because it's so simple, but like all of those simple interactions and choices that we have throughout our day of how we're going to decide, like, am I going to be upset about this or not? So much of the learning for me has been like, in that pause. But it's like, how do I even have the capacity for the pause? It's like slowing down my nervous system so I can actually address what's happening.
Absolutely. There's an amazing quote by, I think, a psychologist that I really like. The premise was like, in between stimulus and the reaction, there's the pause you take to figure out how you want to respond. And it's so important to take that pause. And when I was younger, I mean, I'm still young, but when I was like young, I was like, take pause. What does that mean? You're wasting time. What does that need to mean? There's this rush, this urgency. Now I'm like really understanding what that pause means, because now I've also, oddly enough, every year as you age, things just tend to move faster. And so the pause can coexist while time is still moving forward. Time is not going to stop just because you're pausing. And you should give yourself the space to just pause, because things inevitably move forward. So what is the rush? You want to arrive somewhere, like you're going to get there anyways. So don't rush that. And on your point around the actors you've worked with and this confidence thing, I really do believe that confidence comes from action first, not like, oh, I have to wait to be confident. Like you just have to act. And it's a similar analogy with happiness. Like you can't just wait to be happy one day. You have to take the steps to create happiness in the here and now. And anything that we want in life, any achievement, whatever it is, something I think a lot about is like, what is that type of person that like I think I will be if I have that thing? And I'm just going to pretend that I already have it. I'm not even going to pretend that like, there's a concept of achievement of said thing. I'm just going to pretend that like I've already gotten it. And so how can I change the way I show up and the way I behave and my mindset and the way I move through the world right now that aligns with that version of who I think I would be if I had the thing? Mel Robbins says something similar to this. It's kind of trippy and like meta if you really think about it, but being in that mindset has helped me become more confident and has helped me feel really proud of the person that I'm becoming. And I'm excited as life continues to unfold. There's so much that I still don't even know that I have yet to discover, speaking of my discovery phase. So you can check in with me in another 6 months and we'll see.
Totally. And I'm sure you'd answer that question totally differently. And that's why at the end, when we share with where people can follow along, I'm sure you'll be talking about that on your podcast and on socials. And in kind of talking about confidence, Stella, we've talked about the fear of rejection. And I think so much of our internal fears can really be the obstacles keeping us kind of stuck where we are, or in a state of analysis paralysis, trying to like find the right tools and find the right information and keep us from taking action. What do you do when confidence and self-doubt show up at the same time?
I try to remind myself that the self-doubt, it's something that I place on myself and I'm the only person that can get rid of it. I recently read a book called Beyond Belief.
Yes, I've been hearing about this book everywhere.
Really good, highly recommend it. And he talks about liberating versus limiting beliefs and why we shouldn't prescribe truth to every sort of belief that we have. So a limiting belief is like something that's not in service of you. Like it's just a belief that you hold that's just not true, but we internalize things as children and then we just prescribe truth to those things. They typically hold us back. But a liberating belief is something that is really the opposite. And it's kind of turning your insecurities into your superpower in a way by choosing to see things differently and to reframe that belief. So if self-doubt is coming up, I recognize, okay, that's a limiting belief that I have. How do I turn it into a liberating belief? Because that's what's going to help me step into the confidence that I know I already have, but I'm just creating this reality for myself. Another quote that I come back to is something that Kid Cudi, actually, it's one of his lyrics
Love
in one
me
of
some
his
Kid Cudi.
songs. Yeah, it's in his newer album. So the name of the song is Truman Show. And he says, such a simple thing. The victim and the villain are the same. If that's one thing people take away from this, it is that quote from Kid Cudi. The victim and the villain are the same. The way I interpret that is like you have a choice essentially. And of course you don't want to like lean into the victim mentality, but I don't think that's what he's saying. The way I interpret that is you either create a negative reality for yourself because you're choosing to believe these negative thoughts, or you can take a hold of your life and not let those limiting beliefs stop you. So I think it's about moving from the limiting to the liberating beliefs.
Now I'm like processing that quote a little bit too about the victim and the villain. And like, as I'm thinking about it even more too, it's like when we're choosing to be from that victim mentality, like that is like a villain running our lives. Like when we're choosing to like think of ourselves in that way and operate from that place, it's like we're creating like the worst villain that could possibly be there. And I think sometimes there's like the internal obstacles and the external obstacles. And I think so many of the external obstacles are really internal. We just kind of place them outside of ourselves. And like, that's what that quote means to me, where it's like, we think it's like all these things causing our victimhood. And it's like, no, it's like you're the villain, kind of accepting that that's like your state of being.
Exactly. And to move away from that too, sometimes I think about how it can be difficult to show up online as the face of a brand about happiness when I am only human. And of course, I'm not going to be happy all the time. So sometimes it's harder for me to make videos or content speaking about here's what you can do to be happier and whatever when maybe I'm struggling or I'm having a difficult time. But then I remind myself right now, I could probably list on like two hands all the things I'm stressed about and all the uncertainty that I know is on the horizon in my life that I'm like, oh my God, this is like giving me anxiety. But that doesn't mean I need to be a ball of anxiousness doing this interview. And it doesn't mean that I have a horrible life. Like, in fact, I have a great life and I'm grateful. Like, I'm so lucky to have so many things that I have in my life, from the fact that I have natural sunlight literally coming through my window, which is a luxury in New York, to the fact that I am employed and I can support myself, to the fact that there are tons of contacts in my phone right now that I know if I called, they would pick up, to have that support. So despite the things stirring in my brain that's driving me insane right now, that I'm trying to plan and control and all these things that we just can't do that causes stress and anxiety, it's like at the same time, I can stay rooted in gratitude and know that like life is good. And I'm going to choose to focus on that because that's what's going to make me feel happier, not the things I can't control.
Totally. And like, I think having that perspective allows you to get through the process. Cause like, again, all those things that you can't control but are happening, like you will get through them at some point in time, whenever like that time is. And so that experience, you're going to have it regardless. So like, can you have it because you're rooted in more gratitude? Be just like a little bit more enjoyable, even if it's 1%, versus if you're like, okay, like it's going to be anxious regardless. So like, how can the perspective shift change what the process feels like as you're going through it? And one of my friends is having so many different life transitions right now. And I've known her for over a decade. So I've seen her through many life transitions, and so many people have been in her like close circle commenting on her anxiety. And it's so funny. I was talking to her the other day and I was like, well, one, I'm like, I actually don't think it's that bad. Cause like, you're not like laying on the floor in a puddle of tears. Like you're still doing all of the things. I'm like, to me, that's like the best thing you could do is like, you're still moving forward. You're still taking action. And I was like, yeah. And of course, like you literally have like 3 major life transitions happening and intersecting at one point. Like, why would you just expect to be able to like waltz into all of this like new territory being like, yes, like it's as simple and easy as like my life was before? It's like, no, of course, like there's so much unpredictability and uncertainty. You're going to be a little bit more just like on edge or anxious, just taking in all of the new experiences. So even for her, because like I think she has a great perspective right now, just to have another source remind her, because I think all these people were just like, wow, like you have a lot going on and like you're really stressed. It's like, of course you are a little bit stressed, but that doesn't mean it's defeating her, so to speak.
Exactly. I love that. It's a very important distinction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think we've talked a little bit about self-doubt and confidence. Is there an area of your life or something that you feel like you're learning to trust about yourself?
That's a hard question. Trusting that I have conviction behind my choices, not looking for permission from other people to be like, yeah, what you're doing is like the right thing, or yeah, what you're doing is good, but to just trust that like I know what's right for me and I'm going to stand by it and not necessarily care what other people think, but doing things for me, knowing that it's what I need. And I think that is one of the hardest things to do. Because I'm also the type of person that feels like I want to talk to my friends about things and I love seeking advice. And I think that's important to have that support system. But there's a difference between seeking advice, trying to get people to like give you permission to be like, yeah, that's good, or no, do something different, versus like confiding in someone from a place of like knowing where you stand with yourself and what you need. And instead of sharing things just to get someone's opinion, sharing things to just share something.
Yeah. I think that there's something really profound about that, Stella, because I think I've been noticing that in myself and a lot of women that I've been talking to recently of like almost this craving of someone else signing the permission slip for us. Like this, please validate that I think that this idea is good or like this decision is good. I feel it in my bones that it's the right thing, but because I don't have any sort of external validation or source of someone being like, yes, go for it. I've been thinking about that so often. Like, what does just signing your own permission slip look like? Like, what does that being like the first phase look like? And then, like you said, then when you are sharing with other people, it's more to share rather than to get any sort of validation or feedback on like how you should move forward with this. So I feel like I've had so many conversations with friends recently, and it's specifically around this of being like, I need to move forward on my own and feel really convicted in what I'm saying yes or no to, and kind of shutting out the noise and not craving someone just telling me yes or no.
And I find myself, I can slip into that habit really easily, like, especially with my parents. I'm very close with them. And even before this podcast interview, I was on the phone with my dad. Oh my God, Dad, should I do this trip? But I was invited to this thing. Should I do that thing? And he's like, Stella, you should do what feels best for you. And I was like, oh, but like, I was hoping you would tell me to just do this thing. So then I could be like, okay, like, nope, I should just listen to him. It's not wanting to take accountability for your own choices, I think.
Ooh,
and
Stella.
I struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah, but that's so it though. I was like, ooh, that hit hard. That's like precisely what it is. There's a person that I know, and it's so funny. Like, you're just making me think of this because they're doing it with positive things, like even about like where to go on vacation or where to go out to eat. And instead of being like, I want to go here, it'll be like, you love that though. Like, you want to go there. No, but you love it. Like, it's almost that you could be the one to be like, yes, let's do it. So like, if it sucks for some reason, it's like, it's on you because you were the one who said yes. And I'm like, that's exactly what it is. Like, they don't want to be accountable. Even a positive thing, like where are we going to dinner? Like, even if it sucks, who gives a shit? It's one dinner. Like, we're going to move on and be fine. Dang. Oh, that was good. In our last couple questions, I'm loving this conversation. I cannot wait for it to get out into the world because I feel like I've learned so much from you in such a short amount of time. And I feel just very uplifted and empowered. So I'm sad that we're in our last couple minutes together. Is there a thing that you're afraid to do, but you know you have to reach your next level of growth, either personally or professionally?
Yeah, I think something that I've struggled with is putting my needs first and being comfortable to express said needs. And I think getting over that will serve me very well in all areas of my life. Learning how to stand up for what I want and to not have to apologize for it. Whether it's in the career sector of my life, whether it's a raise or a promotion, or like to advocate for myself. Learning how to advocate for myself is just something I've really struggled with. And I think that, you know, it will only be in service of my career, learning how to do that and to ask for what I want, to advocate for myself in relationships, if something doesn't feel right with a friend, being comfortable to say, this bothered me or this upset me. Or if something's not working anymore in a romantic relationship, to feel comfortable to say, well, I need this from you, and to not perceive that as, oh, I'm being needy, but to be like, no, I have conviction behind what I need and I'm not going to apologize for it. That's been a very hard thing for me to do for like a very long time. And it's something I'm working on.
You're not alone. That is something that like literally the therapist that I'm working with now, and we've been like working on and off for the last 5 years, that is the reason that I went to start working with her. And through different phases of life, I'm so much more aware of it now, but I see times where I'm like, oh, new situation that I have to like give myself all of the tools that I've worked so hard to create to tackle it. Cause like the initial response is to want to be like, nope, I'm okay. I could figure it out on my own. Like I don't need to speak up. And it's like, no, but you do. But you do. And otherwise, like, I feel like it kind of gets like trapped and lived inside of you. So I'm right there with you. You are not alone in any of that. The podcast is called Get Messy. What's the messiest thing about you?
Oh my goodness. The million thoughts spinning in my brain every single minute, genuinely. It may look like I present as a calm, relaxed person, but my brain is always spinning with thoughts, genuinely. So I think that is probably one of the messiest things about me is there is a lot of chaos in there, but it's ordered in a way. I would say that. And then I will say it's like the Greek roots in me. I have a lot of hair on my head and I have to constantly clean my bathroom and pick up my hair because it's always shedding everywhere. So I know it definitely like pisses off my mom. She's like, pick up after your hairs. So now I'm like never gonna forget my mother nagging at me about that. And I'm like very cognizant with my roommate. I'm like, I'm gonna pick up all my hair. So that's maybe like a physical, messy thing about me.
I love that. It's so funny. You're like, I'll never forget. Like every time you see like a strand of your hair, you're gonna be like, oh, I hear my mom in like the back of my head.
No, I do. She like pisses her off. And I'm like, okay, yeah, fair. Can't help it though, but fair.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not trying to do this on purpose, but here we are. It sounds like you have so much going on, Stella. What are you excited about right now, personally and professionally?
I am really excited for personally stepping into this headspace of kind of like this next era of adulthood for me and like how that might take form in my life. A big reason that I didn't move abroad right now is because I wanted to figure out ways I could create that feeling here in New York. And how do I step into this more adult version of myself in a city that I'm familiar with? And so taking time to figure that out is exciting for me. Professionally, I feel like I have really started to build a deeper community with my colleagues and the people that I work with and the projects that I'm staffed on. And I'm just really excited to kind of step into more opportunities where I can really lead a team and have more ownership over what I'm delivering and contributing in my job and get to shape other people in that way and actually shape the work that we're doing and like execute against it. Because a lot of the nature of consulting-esque work is coming in to set a strategy and you hand it off to your client and then you don't know if they're doing it, but to get to be in a role where I'm actually helping to execute against things and be kind of entrepreneurial in my day job is very exciting to me.
That is so exciting. Oh, I love that for you. How cool that you're getting to tap into that in your day job. That is so cool. I'm going to put everything in the show notes, Stella, but where can people come hang out with you and get more of your awesomeness?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Maddie. It's been such a pleasure. Really have enjoyed doing this interview. You can listen to the show Everyday Endorphins on all listening platforms. Podcast is on Apple, Spotify. Everyday Endorphins is also my social handles across Instagram and TikTok. And I use those platforms to promote episodes, to share things I'm thinking about, to share any events that I'm hosting in New York or abroad. And that's the best way to connect with me. And then just my personal page is Stella Stephanopoulos. So you can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn, however you want to connect. I would love to hear from all of you.
Awesome, Stella. This has been so amazing. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. This is great.
You're the real hero if you've made it this far. Thanks so much for hanging out today, and check out the show notes for any resources or cool info mentioned in today's episode or places to follow along if you want to hang out some more. I'm rooting for you today and always. Stay messy.